Now that we have the bot logging the data for our state into the CSV file, we also want to count how many lines of data are written into the CSV file. This video will not only detail why creating a counting variable is beneficial, it will show you how to create a counting variable in your bot program. The basic problem that we're trying to solve is, how do you know before you run your bot how many rows of data will be written into your CSV file? The reality is the number of rows or records shipped into our state depends on how much people in our state enjoy popcorn and what size and flavor combinations they prefer. To see how many rows are written into our CSV file, we could run the bot and see how many rows are written into our CSV file. But this is inefficient because the last row of data will change each time we add a new month. Instead, we can use a count variable to determine the ending point of our data. In the next video, you will learn how to use this count variable to identify the last row of data so that we can identify the number of distinct orders for our state, as well as sum the revenues, tax, total sales, and undiscounted revenue columns. Thus, these last two steps combined are critical because the steps allow us to compute the amounts that are going to be compared against the state's economic threshold amounts to determine whether Chicagoland popcorn has established economic nexus in your state. To create a counting variable, we are going to use the increment action on the number menu. We only want the bot to count rows of data that are written into our CSV file, so the increment action should be within the if statement. We have to tell the bot where to start, and we're going to start with our end count variable that we created in step 2. We want the bot to increase the end count variable by 1 for each row of data written into the CSV file. Since we're creating a counting variable, we want the new value to be assigned to the same end count variable. Thus, each time the bot loops through another row of data that is written into our CSV file, the end count variable goes up by 1, and for the next iteration, that new value becomes the starting value for the end count variable. Let's get into A2019 to see how we program our bot to create a counting variable. Navigate down the Actions menu and locate the Number menu. Double-click on Increment to move it onto your workbench. Make sure that the increment action is located inside your if statement. Once you have the increment action in the appropriate location, we can configure the action. First, we need to tell the bot what our number is. Since we want this to be a variable, we click on the X in paren, and then we choose the end count variable from the list. Click on Yes, Insert. We want the bot to increase the end count variable by 1 each time a row of data is written into our CSV file. Since we're creating a counting variable, we want to assign the output to the end count variable. Combined, this action will start with the end count variable, add 1 to it, and then assign it to the end count variable for each row of data that is written. Once you've configured your action, go ahead and click Save.